very welcome to my class. This is in continuation to the summary analysis of Unit 8, that is Religion and Society, of Paper 1, the subject Sociology, Fundamentals of Sociology. Today's lesson, I am going to explain to you all about the characteristics of fundamentalism. This is the syllabus as prescribed by the UPSC. I am over here. I'll be taking another 2 lessons and this will be the end of this module. Then I'll move on to the next module. My previous lesson, going in for a recap, I explained to you all what is fundamentalism. Today's lesson, I'm going to explain to you all about the characteristics of fundamentalism. Previous lesson explained to you all what is fundamentalism. Fundamentalism, when we use the word fundamentalism, it is where you have individuals or you have a charismatic leader who wants the people to go back to the basics of religion, the core values of the religion. This is in response to the secularization and the modernity and that is taking place in the society, where rationality takes the highest level, where people start questioning the religious values. It is then you have fundamentalists asking people, or you can say they start off the movement where they literally telling the people to go back to the main basics of the religion or the core values of the religion, and they say that you have to totally believe in the religious texts and whatever has been prescribed in the religious texts are to be followed and nothing can be questioned. T. N. Madan has pointed out the word fundamentalism has gained wide currency in the contemporary world. This is because fundamentalism is a response to, like how I said, modernity, secularization. So this is something that you see worldwide. Fundamentalism happening because fundamentalism arises when you have people opposing to the religious value systems. Because they cannot, fundamentalists generally do not have, they cannot take modernity and secularization because they believe in the core values of the religion, that is what is written in the scriptures. Now, fundamentalism refers to norms, values, attitudes, or either that go along with that particular movement or whatever the fundamentalist is, telling the people to follow. Whenever a fundamentalist either judge, it is some people who feel he's right, he's been supported. People who feel fundamentalists are wrong, they always condemn. So you always have 2 voices of opinion when you have a fundamentalist movement. This word sometimes is used in place of communalism. In fact, it's become a blanket term for the various fundamental movements that has taken place in the world. They're not identical, but fundamentalism and communalism is something that are interrelated, especially in a country like India. This is what I'll be focusing in my next lesson, fundamentalism and communalism. Though they are not identical, but there's a lot of things that go hand in hand. How fundamentalism also gives rise to communalism. It's all, interrelated. Now, in certain aspects, they are linked by a family. You have few characteristics that both have fundamentalism, communalism, and have certain distinct features also. Like all concepts, all movement, all important concept that happen in the society, everything has a certain characteristics by which we can define that particular concept. Even fundamentalism, it has few common characteristics. Chapman, he gives about 5 characteristics. He says a little representation of religious texts which seem to be infallible, or they regard all areas of social life as sacred. They do not tolerate other religions. They have conservative beliefs, and fundamentalist movements are of a collective character. So now this is what we will discuss everything in detail. The first characteristic, a literal interpretation of religious texts which is seen as like how I said, explained to you all. They feel infallible means nothing can go wrong. Whatever is written in the religious text, be of any religion, there's no ability for any error. So whatever is written in the religious text, and it's right, no questions to be asked, nobody has to find fault with this. You have to follow it just blindly is what they believe. And I can quote a small example of the Sabarimala issue. Now the Hindu scriptures say that women during the menstruative years are not supposed to be considered pure. So that is the reason why they were denied entry into the temple. The Supreme Court order said that no, they can, it is their right. So you have two fundamentalists felt that it was wrong. People have to take what is written in the religious text. They cannot ask questions, because here the question came about rationality. How can she be impure? Because this is the very sign of reproductive nature of the women, which helps the family, the family tree to grow. That is what the fundamentalists don't believe in, the rationality of this. They believe whatever is written in the religious text shouldn't be questioned, it should just be followed. Like that you can give many examples, to give your to explain the characteristic when you have to explain about the fundamental characteristics. Second one, they regard all areas of social life as sacred. Now, the second characteristic says that religion is something that should be there in all the areas of social life, be it polity, education, culture, and law. In a society, these are all the very important social institutions. Fundamentalists feel that religion should also take a thing over here. So, like how education textbooks are prescribed by NCERT, you have curriculum that is thing. That's a very secular curriculum, you say. Whereas fundamentalists would say that whatever religion they are preaching, they would only want that to happen. So we do see in so many instances, in history books, where certain governments try to scrape the Mughal history, that gives so much importance to the Indian history. So these are all traces of fundamentalism, you can say. So they don't, and this is what happened in Europe before the Renaissance period, where the church occupied all these areas. This is what the fundamental feel, that religion should take over all this. They do not tolerate any other religions. They feel that whatever religion they are professing is something is the truth. They find fault with all religions. Once the fundamentalists take power, they tend to purge the symbol, when the word purge means to destroy, of other religions and persecute people of other faith. Now let me tell you all, a fundamental is generally, when we talk about fundamental, it has a religious connotation, but you can also have non-religious connotation also. Like for example, the ideology of Nazism by Hitler, who promoted the supremacy of the German pride, the supremacy of the Aryans race, where he hated the Jews, and he killed about 6 million Jews were killed, and there was genocide. He destroyed, that's what purge means, destroy all their religious symbols. So this is also fundamental. It can take another thing. This is of course not connected with religion. It is ideology fundamental, which all history students, we use the word Holocaust for this, where many people were killed. So this is also where how another form fundamentalism can take place. They have conservative beliefs, like I said, since now look at the past religious eras. We sometimes want to change society how it used to be before secularized. The society was moral. Now if you see society, it's an evolution. We all move towards from an ancient medieval to a modern society. Naturally, an ancient society sticks on to the religious values, to the scriptures. Secularization takes place as a society moves on towards modernity, but the fundamentalists is what they don't like. They don't like the progressive thinking, and when religion is questioned, they like to follow the old laws, the old school of thought, everything. They oppose to a reason, rationality, human. All this is something they don't like, because they believe only in the scriptures, what is written. That was written about thousands of years ago. So when modernity had not taken place. So since they believe in the old scriptures, the position of the women definitely was not good about many years back. The role of a woman was confined to the four walls of the house. But fundamentalists feel that this is the right way. This is how they look at women, and they feel they're not very happy with the progressive liberalization of women occupying places everywhere, achievement, or something which they do not like, and they all support even patriarchy for that matter. Though, fundamentalism, you have the belief in conservative. You do have some fundamentalists who are practical at times. The perfect example would be Swami Dayanand, who was a Hindu fundamentalist and who gave the slogan, "Go back to the Vedas." And he said that Vedas are the only source of all knowledge. But at the same time, he also fought for the evil practices that was present in the Indian society. He fought against idol worship, reincarnation theory of gods. He rejected the Brahmanical domain, advocated widow remarriage, female education. He opposed the sati system and the child marriage. So you have always two sides. One person who blindly followed the scriptures. At the same time, you had Swami Dayanand, who also wanted to go back to revive the Hindu religion. He also fought against all these social evils. Then you also had Maududi, who was the founder of the Jamaat-e Islami, the largest Islamic organization. He also criticized the present, Muslim way of life of ignorance. So you had people who were very, very practical at times also. Now, they are collective by nature because it is usually it is led by charismatic leaders and their patriarchal nature. Like the 1970, the Iranian movement was led by Ayatollah Khomeini. Now, Ayatollah Khomeini, he was a supreme religious leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. He was responsible for the Iranian revolution, also called the Islamic Revolution. He toppled the monarchy government and established the Islamic Republic. So everything was concerned only with the Islamic rules. Then you have the Sikh fundamentalists upsurged by the Sant Bindranwala. Then fundamental leaders definitely need not be religious leaders. Also, it's like how I said, definitely we always have think fundamental means religious. You do have like how I said fundamentalists, the ideology of Nazi also you have. One more thing, the Wahhabi movement. This is also another Muslim it's a movement, fundamentalist movement, where it started with Patna, where they tried to purify Islam by claiming that the un-Islamic practices should be stopped. They felt that the British, the influence of British was getting on too much on Islam. This was the Wahhabi movement was a direct challenge to the British supremacy in India. In fact, was the jihad movement against the British. So you do have people they collective in nature. They can get very tough at times. The perfect example would be the satanic verses that was written by Salman Rushdie. Many people did not like it. The Muslims accused, especially Ayatollah Khomeini, they were not happy the way he wrote the book. He accused Rushdie of presenting Islam as a very deceitful or ignorant, deviant religion. So he was issued a fatwa. So now all these happens so since it is collective in nature. Then you can cite the example of Taslima Nasreen, a Bangladeshi. She was a feminist secular known for her writing on women's oppression and criticism of religion. She was also issued multiple fatwas by fundamentalists. Then so she had no other option, so she adopted the Swedish citizenship. So here you have many fundamentalists who core thing is only about religion. They want the religion law, like the Sharia law for that matter, the religious Muslim law, the legal system. They feel that the legal system should, some Muslim countries also still follow this Sharia law. What else? Fundamental need not be religious. The perfect example is that I said Hitler, the Holocaust, where he he undertook this Jews cleansing, ethnic cleansing, genocide, persecuted about 6 million Jews, which we also call the Holocaust. And fundamental leaders need not be religious. The perfect example is Maulana Maududi, the founder. He was a journalist, and even the founder of RSS, KB Hedgewar, was also a physician. So this is about fundamentalism. In my next lesson, what I'm going to do is I'll try and explain